shadowed heart of Chicago's Little Sicily, where the intersection of Oak Street and Milton Avenue, known as Death Corner, reeks of blood and betrayal. A spectre of vengeance stalks the night. The Shotgun Man, an urban legend born in the 1910s underworld, is no mere assassin, but a wraith of organised crime. His name synonymous with dread. The air grows thick with gunpowder's tang, and the cobblestones seem to whisper of the lives he claimed. From January 1910 to March 1911, he was a phantom of slaughter, attributed with killing 15 Italian immigrants at Death Corner. His weapon, a shotgun, roared like judgment, its blasts tearing through flesh and hope. Black Hand extortionists, preying on their own, quaked at his name, for he was their reaper. In March 1911, tales say he slew 4 in 72 hours. Their bodies left crumpled under flickering gaslights, eyes wide with the terror of his faceless wrath. Yet records falter. Northwestern's annals note shotgun killings, but none match the legend's precise toll, as if the city itself buries his truth. He was no man, some say, but a shadow given form by Chicago's sins. Clad in a long coat, his face obscured by a wide-brimmed hat, he moved unseen, his steps silent on the blood-slick streets. His shotgun's bark was the only warning, its echo lingering like a curse. Witnesses swore, his eyes glowed red beneath the brim, and his laughter, low and guttural, chilled the soul. Death Corner became his altar, each killer ritual, the intersection a gate to something darker. The stories fester. A shopkeeper, refusing Black Hand's demands, fell to a blast through his window, his blood pooling where children played. A gambler, fleeing debts, was found shredded, his screams unheard. Some claim he still walks, his coat flapping in winds that carry no sound. Late at night, the Death Corner grows cold, the street lights dimming as if in fear. Footsteps echo where none tread, and a faint click, like a shotgun's hammer, sends the brave running. Chicago's old guard speak of him in hushed tones, their warnings clear. Avoid Death Corner after midnight, when the city's pulse slows. No prayer wards him off, no bribe sates him. Is he the ghost of a killer, a demon fed by extortion's greed, or the city's own vengeance? If you cross Oak and Milton, where the night feels alive and the shadows leer, move swiftly, ignore the footsteps, the glint of steel in the dark, the low laugh that knows your sins. For the Shotgun Man is no mere legend. He is Chicago's blade, its unrelenting hunter, and at Death Corner his shotgun waits, its barrel trained on the guilty, its echo a promise of a grave in the city's unyielding night.
The harbinger of doom and despair. The legend describes La Malahora as a shapeshifter, her form ever-changing yet always unnerving. Some see her as a shadowy, faceless figure cloaked in darkness, her movements unnaturally swift and fluid. Others recount encountering a grotesque, hunched creature with glowing red eyes that pierce through the night. But no matter her form, her presence is unmistakable. The air grows heavy, the silence deafening, and an overwhelming sense of dread creeps over her victims, freezing them in their tracks. The tale warns of her hunting ground, the lonely crossroads where decisions are made and fates are sealed. Travellers who encounter her are said to fall into a trance, unable to look away as she approaches. Her purpose is sinister, for La Malahora does not merely haunt the roads. She feeds on fear and misfortune, her appearance a sign of death or tragedy soon to come. Stories tell of those who tried to flee upon seeing her, only to find themselves disoriented, the road twisting endlessly beneath their feet. Others claim to have seen her at a distance, only for her to appear impossibly close in the blink of an eye. Her chilling laugh who speak of looking into her empty eyes say they were left forever haunted, their lives unravelling soon after. To this day, New Mexicans warn against travelling alone at night, especially near the crossroads, for if you see La Malahora on your journey, it may already be too late. Her shadow has fallen over your fate, and the darkness will soon claim you. It began on the night of November 15th, 1966. Two young couples drove through the darkened back roads of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, when they saw something that would haunt them forever. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, its form cloaked in shadow. Its enormous wings folded against its back, quivered as if ready to take flight. But it was the eyes, glowing, crimson, burning like dying embers, that paralysed them with fear. The creature moved with unnatural speed, chasing their car as they fled, its wings unfurling as it soared overhead. The air was filled with an eerie, unearthly screech. Then just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. That was only the beginning. In the following weeks, dozens of others claimed to see the Mothman, lurking near abandoned buildings, perched on bridges, watching from the treetops with those terrible red eyes. Animals went missing, their remains found mutilated beyond recognition. Strange lights danced in the sky, and ominous whispers spread through the town. Some believed it was an omen of disaster. Others swore it was something far worse. A creature not of this world, a watcher from the beyond. Then, on December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed. 46 lives were lost as twisted steel and shattered concrete plunged into the icy waters of the Ohio River. The Mothman was never seen again. Was it a warning? A spectre of doom sent to foretell tragedy? Or was it something far darker? An entity feeding off fear and despair? The town of Point Pleasant still whispers about the Mothman, its legend refusing to die. Some claim to have glimpsed its shadow in the dead of night, just beyond the reach of streetlights. And if you ever find yourself alone on an empty road with the wind howling through the trees, watch the sky, because when the Mothman appears, tragedy follows. The vast, unforgiving ocean stretched out before them, a dark expanse under a moonless sky. Aboard a colossal naval vessel, a behemoth of steel and power, the crew stood vigilant, their eyes scanning the horizon. The rhythmic thrum of the engines, the gentle sway of the ship, the only sounds in the oppressive silence of the night. Then, a flicker of light, a pinpoint in the distance, growing steadily larger, closer. Alarm bells rang through the ship, jolting the crew into action. The light, now clearly visible, appeared to be another vessel, its course set on a direct brighter, more menacing with each passing moment. Panic gripped the crew, the fear of imminent collision palpable in the tense silence. Orders were barked, the ship manoeuvring desperately to avoid the oncoming vessel. The light grew blindingly bright, filling the night with its eerie glow. Collision seemed inevitable, the crushing force of impact just moments away. And then a voice, strained and disbelieving, broke the silence. It's a lighthouse. The ship, mere moments from disaster, swerved violently, narrowly avoiding the rocky shore. The lighthouse, a towering sentinel against the dark, stood firm, its light casting a long accusatory beam across the churning waters. The crew, shaken and bewildered, stared back at the lighthouse, their hearts pounding in their chests. Relief washed over them, quickly followed by a chilling realization. How could they have mistaken a stationary lighthouse for a moving vessel? Had their senses been deceived? Or was there something more sinister at play? Whispers spread through the ship, tales of ghostly lights and phantom vessels, of a malevolent force that lured ships to their doom. And then, years later, another ship, sailing the same treacherous waters, reported a similar encounter. A blinding light, a near collision, and then the chilling realization that the light was not a ship, but something far more unsettling. Something that stood on the shore, beckoning them closer, its light a siren song of destruction.
On Halloween night, when the veil between worlds thins, a sinister chill settles over quiet neighbourhoods. Jack-o'-lanterns flicker like dying stars, and the laughter of trick-or-treaters masks a lurking dread. The poisoned candy myths, whispered in fearful tones, speak of a malevolence that festers in the shadows, a faceless evil that taints the sweetest of treats with death. No one knows who they are, these strangers with hearts blacker than midnight. They move unseen, their hands gloved in secrecy, slipping razor blades, needles, or shards of glass into bright candy wrappers. Some say they lace chocolates with poisons that burn the throat and still the heart. Others swear the candies hide slow toxins, dooming children to a creeping, agonizing end. These fiends strike on Halloween, when innocence dances door to door, bags heavy with unsuspecting doom. The streets grow eerie as dusk falls. Parents clutch their children's hands, eyes darting to every shadowed porch. The candy looks harmless, glossy wrappers, sugary scents, but each piece is a gamble with fate. A razor's edge waits to slice tender tongues, a needle to pierce soft flesh, a poison to choke the breath from tiny lungs. The stories crawl through time. A boy who bled out on his doorstep, a girl whose screams woke the neighbours too late. No culprits are ever caught. The perpetrators vanish like smoke, leaving only grief and terror. The air on Halloween night hums with unease. Bags of treats, once treasures, become cursed relics to be inspected under harsh light. Every crinkle of a wrapper sounds like a warning, every bite a dare. Some say the strangers are ghosts of malice, the hatred bound to the holiday is safe. The myths endure, fed by half-remembered tragedies and the primal fear of the unknown. Parents warn their young to trust no stranger's gift, to check each morsel as if it were a trap. Yet the temptation of candy is a siren's call, and children are not always cautious. If you trick or treat under that haunted moon, beware the smiling stranger with an outstretched bowl. Inspect every sweet or risk a fate that lingers in the dark. A cut, a sting, a final breath stolen by the poisoned candy's curse. In the humid shadows of Key West, Florida, within the weathered walls of the East Martello Museum, a relic of dread sits enthroned. Robert the doll. No ordinary toy, this straw-stuffed figure, clad in a faded sailor suit, once belonged to Robert Eugene Otto, a painter whose life was tainted by its presence. Its glass eyes, black and unblinking, seem to follow you, and the air around it hums with a malice that claws at the soul. Robert was a gift, or perhaps a curse, given to young Eugene in the early 1900s. Some whisper it was crafted by a vengeful servant, steeped in dark rituals to bind a spirit within his burlap form. From the moment it entered the Otto home, the house grew wrong. Objects shattered, furniture shifted, and whispers slithered from empty rooms. Eugene spoke to Robert, and Robert answered, its voice a guttural rasp, heard by servants who fled in terror. Neighbours swore they saw the doll move, its head turning to watch them through windows, its stitched mouth curling into a grin. Misfortune dogged those who crossed Robert. Eugene's family suffered illness and strife. Guests felt a weight, a gaze that lingered too long. When Eugene died, Robert was left in the attic, but the house's new owners fared no better. Footsteps echoed at night, giggles, high and cruel, rang from the rafters. One child, caught staring at Robert, screamed for hands that weren't there, squeezing her dreams into nightmares. The doll was banished to the museum, but its reach grew longer. Now, in its glass case, Robert reigns. Visitors feel a chill, their cameras failing, their skin prickling as if brushed by unseen fingers. Those who mock him, snapping photos without permission or speaking ill, meet swift retribution. Letters pile at the museum, penned by the cursed, tales of lost jobs, broken bones, or shadows that stalk their homes. Some say Robert's eyes shift, his head tilting when no one watches. At night, when the museum is locked, guards hear tapping from his case, a slow, deliberate rhythm like a heartbeat from the void. No one knows what fuels Robert's wrath. Is he a vessel for a demon, a soul trapped in cloth, or something older, summoned by blood and spite? The museum's walls, thick with history, cannot contain him. If you visit, tread softly. Speak no ill, take no photos unless you beg his leave. Offer candy or coins, a feeble plea for mercy. For Robert the doll is no mere haunted relic. He is a sentinel of vengeance, a watcher whose gaze never wavers. In Key West's sultry dark, his will endures, and those who disrespect him learn too late. Robert sees all, and his curse is eternal.
Some believe the ghost was a ghost indeed, a spirit of vengeance haunting the sky, refusing to let Kiev fall. As the story spread, so did the rumours. Some whispered that the ghost of Kiev was not just a man, but a soul driven by fury and hatred, seeking retribution for the lives lost in the war. Others spoke of the ghost as a force beyond the realm of the living, an unearthly presence summoned by the cries of the innocent. There were accounts of a shadowy figure in the cockpit, eyes gleaming with an intensity that sent shivers down the spine of those who saw it, a presence that seemed almost otherworldly. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the ghost of Kiev vanished. No one saw the fighter jet again, and the battlefield was left in silence. Some say the pilot died in the air, their soul never Others claim the ghost still watches over Kiev, waiting, forever bound to the city's defense. But one thing is certain: the ghost of Kiev remains a haunting symbol of defiance in the face of darkness, a spectral guardian who will never be forgotten. The legend lives on, a story that lingers in the air like the distant roar of engines, a reminder that in the darkest hours, even death can take flight. In the dark, misty roads of Japan, there's a terrifying tale that haunts the streets, one that sends a shiver down the spine of anyone who dares drive at night. It is the legend of the Headless Rider, a ghostly figure of a motorcyclist, forever cursed to ride the roads without a head. The story begins with a tragic accident that occurred years ago. A young man speeding down a desolate road on his motorcycle was unaware of the danger ahead. In the dead of night, someone, no one knows who, had stretched piano wire across the road, the thin, almost invisible strands ready to catch the unsuspecting. The rider, unable to see the wire in time, crashed into it at full speed. The wire snapped tight, decapitating him instantly, his head flying off as his body crumpled to the ground. His motorcycle slid to a stop, the engine sputtering its final breath in the silence of the night. But death was not the end for this rider. As the legend goes, the rider's ghost now haunts the road where he perished, a headless figure speeding through the night on his motorcycle. The faint sound of revving engines fills the air as he approaches, and those who have encountered him report seeing a rider in a dark helmet and leather jacket, his hands gripping the handlebars with unnatural force. But when they get close enough, the rider's neck is eerily empty, no head to be found. The headless rider is said to seek vengeance on those who dare drive too fast or too recklessly, as he once did. Many have reported seeing him in their rear view mirrors, gaining speed until he's almost upon them, only for him to vanish just before impact. But some unlucky few have been followed, and on rare occasions they've felt the chilling brush of a headless figure passing by, a warning to never forget the deadly cost of speed. So, if you find yourself alone on a lonely, dark road in Japan and you hear the roar of a motorcycle behind you, be wary. The headless rider may be catching up to you, ready to claim another victim for his endless ride through the night. The legend of the Hook is one of the most chilling tales passed down from generation to generation, a nightmare born from the darkest corners of America. It begins as many terrifying stories do, with a teenage couple parked in the isolation of a lover's lane, the night quiet and peaceful, their only company the stars above. But in the darkness, a sinister figure lurks, a deranged murderer with a hook in place of a hand, stalking the unsuspecting victims from the shadows. It is said that the killer, known only as the Hook or Hookman, escaped from a nearby mental asylum, his mind shattered by years of torment and isolation. He had fashioned a deadly prosthesis for his missing hand, a sharp, glistening hook that could tear through flesh and bone with brutal efficiency. For months, he roamed the surrounding area, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. The teenage couple, lost in their own world, would hear nothing at first, just the soft rustle of trees and the occasional creak of the car. But then, a sound, a scraping, dragging noise that sent chills through their spines. The boy, too preoccupied with the girl, would brush it off as nothing more than the wind. But then came the warning. A frantic radio report escaped convict, and then the scream. When the couple finally drove off in a panic, they discovered that their car door had been slashed open and a blood-streaked hook was left dangling from the handle. In the rearview mirror, they could still see the figure of the hook watching from the trees, his eyes gleaming in the night. To this day, the legend haunts lovers' lanes and secluded roads, reminding us that there are horrors hidden in the dark, waiting just out of sight. And sometimes, when the night is too quiet and the wind too still, you might hear the scrape of metal against metal. In the shadowy winters of New England, the tale of Fair Charlotte is whispered among families, a haunting reminder of vanity and foolish pride. On a bone-chilling New Year's Eve, Charlotte, a young girl renowned for her beauty, was preparing to attend a grand winter ball. She chose a dress of delicate silk, the latest fashion, a gown that shimmered in the candlelight and caught every admiring eye. Her mother urged her to wrap up in thick furs to ward off the bitter cold, but Charlotte refused, scoffing at the idea of covering her beautiful dress with heavy, unsightly coats. As the sleigh arrived to carry her to the ball, the air was sharp and biting, the night blanketed in snow and silence. Her friends, bundled in layers, shivered as they watched her climb into the sleigh, her bare shoulders exposed to the icy wind. As the sleigh bells jingled and they set off into the darkness, the snow began to fall heavily, swirling in the air like ghostly fingers. The ride was long, and the cold crept in like a silent predator. Charlotte, proud and unyielding, ignored the numbness spreading through her limbs, her mind fixed only on her image as she arrived at the ball. Her friends tried to coax her into covering herself with a spare coat, but she laughed them off, her words carried away by the howling wind. "I want them to see me just as I am," she had said, her eyes gleaming with pride. By the time they arrived at the ball, the laughter had ceased, and Charlotte was silent, her head tilted to one side, her face frozen in an eerie, unchanging expression. Her friends shook her, called her name, but Charlotte did not respond. Her skin was cold, her lips blue. She had frozen to death on the journey, her beauty preserved in a ghostly, terrible stillness. News of Charlotte's fate spread quickly, and her story became a cautionary tale across New England. Mothers warned their daughters of Fair Charlotte, the girl who had been so consumed by vanity that she sacrificed her life for appearance's sake. Some even claimed that her spirit could be seen on dark, snowy nights, riding in an empty sleigh, her face pale and expressionless, eyes staring blankly into the night, as if forever searching for a warmth that would never return. Today, her story lingers, a chilling reminder to those who hear it. They say if you listen closely on a winter's night, you can hear the faint jingle of sleigh bells and the haunting whisper of a girl's laugh carried on the wind, growing softer until it vanishes into the cold. The tale of Fair Charlotte endures as a ghostly warning, a beautiful face, frozen forever in the cruel grasp of vanity and the merciless winter's chill. In the shadow-laden landscape of American folklore, few tales evoke the chill of the Crybaby Bridge. Across the United States, numerous bridges bear this macabre nickname, each story rooted in a haunting event so sorrowful that the echoes seem to transcend time itself. The These structures, often decrepit and isolated, are united by the eerie phenomenon of phantom infant wails that pierce the stillness of the night. One such bridge looms on the outskirts of a small, weathered town, cloaked in the thick mists that rise from the river below. Local legend has it that many decades ago, a young mother, driven by despair and madness, threw her newborn child from the bridge into the icy waters beneath. They say she was consumed by grief and torment over her deed, and that her wails mingled with those of her child in a symphony of anguish. Overcome by remorse, she leapt to her own death, hoping in vain to join her child in the depths. Since that fateful night, those who dare to walk the bridge after dark report hearing the harrowing sounds of a baby's cries, so real and so close that they turn in desperation, searching for the child they can never find. Some also hear the ghostly lament of the mother, a mournful wail that drifts across the river and settles like a cold shroud upon the hearts of the listeners. The Crybaby Bridge has become a rite of passage for the local youth, a test of courage or foolhardiness. Teenagers gather in hushed groups, their voices low, as they dare one another to cross the bridge at midnight. Armed only with flashlights that cast long, ominous shadows, they step onto the creaking wood, each plank groaning under the weight of the grim history it bears. As they reach the centre, where the river runs darkest, the cries begin. At first, a soft whimpering, it soon swells into a crescendo of screams, so visceral that many flee in terror, swearing never to return. Others speak of seeing a spectral figure of a woman, her gown flowing and pale in the moonlight, her arms reaching out for the child she will never hold again. Cameras and phones, intended to capture proof, inexplicably fail, leaving only the memories of those haunted by what they have experienced. The Crybaby Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the past's grip on the present, its story passed down through generations as a chilling warning. It is a place where the boundary between this world and the next is thin, where sorrow and tragedy are etched into the very landscape, and the cries of the lost are never far from earshot. James Dean's untimely death in 1955 left an eerie shadow over Hollywood, a legacy of rebellion and tragedy. But it was not just his passing that stirred the imaginations of millions. It was the dark legend surrounding his beloved Porsche 550 Spider, ominously nicknamed Little Bastard. The car, the very machine in which Dean met his end on a lonely California highway, would go on to become infamous in its own right, woven into a web of curses, accidents, and unexplained events that would haunt anyone who dared come near it. Dean, known for his fascination with speed, had poured his passion into the sleek silver Porsche, a car that felt like an extension of his own persona. Dangerous, alluring, and defiant. Friends warned him about the car, claiming it gave off a sinister aura, but Dean shrugged off their concerns. Some even said they'd had visions of his death behind its wheel. Yet, on September 30th, 1955, as Dean raced down Route 466, Little Bastard met its fate, colliding with another vehicle in a brutal accident that killed him instantly. But while Dean's life ended that day, the story of Little Bastard had only just begun. The wreckage of the car was carted off, twisted and mangled, a ghostly reminder of the tragedy. Yet, for some, the remnants held a dark allure. People began to scavenge parts from the Porsche, hoping to claim a piece of history. But they would soon realise that they had taken more than just a piece of metal. They had inherited a curse. The parts from Dean's Little Bastard seemed to carry with them a thirst for destruction, a dark legacy that brought disaster upon any who dared touch it. The first victim was a mechanic who purchased the car's engine and installed it into his own race car. During his first race with the engine, he lost control, careening off the track and meeting his death in a fiery crash. Another racer, who had taken the transmission from Dean's Porsche, suffered a near identical fate, his vehicle flipping violently on a seemingly equally chilling fates. 2 tyres taken from the Porsche blew out simultaneously, causing the driver's car to swerve off the road and overturn, leaving him gravely injured. Those who witnessed the crash claimed that the tyres had seemed perfectly fine beforehand, as if they'd been sabotaged by an unseen force. Another story tells of a physician who purchased the Porsche's blood-stained seats, hoping to restore them, only to find his home inexplicably caught in a blaze soon after, destroying not only the seats, but his life's belongings. The fire's cause was never determined. The twisted remains of Little Bastard were eventually purchased by car customizer George Barris, who intended to display it as a cautionary symbol. But even as a lifeless display, the Porsche continued its path of destruction. In one instance, it fell off its display stand and crushed a nearby bystander's legs. Another time, it slipped loose from its moorings while being transported and killed a truck driver in a horrific accident. It was as if the car itself resented being confined, lashing out at anyone who dared contain it. The final mystery came in 1960, when Little Bastard was in transit to a museum exhibit. Somewhere along the journey, the cursed wreck simply vanished. No one could account for its disappearance, and to this day, Little Bastard remains lost, its twisted metal and dark history dissolved into thin air. Rumours abound, with some believing the car escaped to fulfill its unholy mission, others saying it was buried to rid the world of its curse, and a few even speculating that it reappears now and then, hidden in a collector's vault, waiting to be unleashed once more. The tale of Little Bastard endures, an urban legend of fear and fascination. For those who hear it, there's an uneasy question. Could a machine be haunted, possessed by the spirit of its past?